I was 4 years old when my father gave me my first violin. It was a tradition in his home in India that all of the children learned to play, and he proudly boasted that my grandfather had one in every size. I viscerally remember the feeling of the calluses developing on my tiny fingers as I struggled to press the strings hard enough to play the notes. 4 years of lessons with my strict teacher of Russian descent was enough to leave me begging to play the piano. My parents, having finally realized they were not going to win the battle, saved up what little they could at the time and bought a second-hand upright piano for the home. Years and years of lessons without regular weekly practice led me to master such favorites as the theme from Cheers, but there was no Moonlight Sonata in my future. Finally, 8 years into my musical journey, I excitedly approached my parents about my latest fixation, the cello. I became obsessed with the warm, dark timbre, and I just knew that all I needed was a simple $3,000 to $4,000 instrument, and I would be ready to go. And it was at that moment, all of those years ago, that my father told me that he was done buying instruments, and that if I needed to be a professional musician, I may as well learn to sing, because at least my voice was free. What you just heard so beautifully played by our guests Jose and Soroush is the first movement from a 3-piece set by composer Ernest Bloch called From Jewish Life. The work itself was written in 1924 by Bloch for a cellist named Hans Kindler. The first movement is called Prayer, and it repeats this cry of the 3-note ascending motif that we later find borrowed by Max Janowski in his famous Avinu Malkeinu. Bloch employs Jewish modal sequences to paint a contemplative picture, almost as if you can hear the yearning for peace. But would this piece be as effective if played on the bassoon or even the violin? There's a reason the cello is used to usher in our holiest day of the year. The depth of range reaches deep into our souls and stirs us as though waking us from a peaceful slumber. Perhaps the cello in this moment becomes the stringed equivalent of the shofar at this point in our Jewish year, calling us to pay attention, to wake up. The second piece in the set is called Supplication, implying a sense of urgency with its musical motifs and rapid movement. As you listen, I want you to ask yourselves what Bloch was yearning for as he wrote. This passionate religious plea was about so much more than just our High Holy Day liturgy, as complicated as it is. Rather, his understanding as a composer of Am Yisrael and the Jewish people was undoubtedly colored by his Swiss heritage and the struggles of his ancestors before coming to this country. Listen for the hopeful refrain amidst the seemingly dark musical descent. The underpinning of a relentless piano accompaniment urges us to listen with intention. This is supplication. final and most famous movement is the third, simply titled Jewish Song. Written to sound like a European Jewish folk song, you can once again hear the pleading of our people. It's paired with a simplified chordal accompaniment, but the voice of the cello speaks throughout the movement. We are once again taken to the depths of the instrument's glorious range, perhaps indicating the complicated depths of our souls throughout our experience as Jews. In this movement, you can hear the history of our people, all the while musically begging for a brighter future. The repetitive motif tells a story we know all too well. The repetition is unmistakable in the musical motif, as if to say, Ein chadash tachar hashamayim, or there's nothing new under the sun. This is Jewish song. Though I never did end up getting a cello. It is always one of the first instruments I try to program within our services. The smooth sound of a well-rosined bow pulled across a tightly wound string tells a story like no other instrument can. And just as Max Bruch did in his rendition of Kol Nidre that we hear every year, Bloch's three-piece set takes us on a journey of the highs and lows, with its yearning desperately for brighter days ahead. May the year ahead of us be informed by the year that has passed. Shana Tova.